Well, good morning, Blazers fans. Does that feel right? We're here live at Dr. Jack's looking outside the window. I feel like it's the middle of the afternoon. The vibes are high. The fans are pouring in. People looking for the Blazers to bounce back here this afternoon in Game 4 as they play host once again to the San Antonio Spurs. Welcome in to Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here with you. If you'd like to join the conversation with us and get ready for this pivotal playoff matchup, you can hit us up on the Rip City Radio text line 88528, or you can go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and join the chat there. The Blazers looking to rebound from a tough one just a few nights ago in Game 3, a game that did not see Victor Wembanyama on the floor, and so you would hope that the Blazers could take advantage of that, but the Spurs absolutely came ready to play. They gave the Blazers everything they had. The Blazers jumped out to the lead that we talked about. They came out swinging. They played a good game. They had a late lead in the second half. At one point, it's 82-67 in favor of Portland. But then San Antonio goes on a run behind great defense and some awesome offense. They're able to come back and get the victory. And not only do they just get the victory, they get the victory running away. It wasn't particularly close in the end, 120-108 in favor of the Spurs. A little bit disheartening because you would have hoped that they could have grabbed that win without Victor Wembanyama on the floor. Take advantage of that. But as I told you during that game, this San Antonio Spurs team is a very, very good basketball team, whether he is playing or not. There's a reason that they were number 2 in the Western Conference. And they got great games from Vassell and Castle, and Carter Bryant was wonderful on the defensive side of the ball. So you have to absolutely give the San Antonio Spurs credit here. This is not as if you just look at this game and go, oh, the Blazers completely sucked and that's why they lost. No, San Antonio earned that victory. This is playoff basketball. Now you hope that the Blazers can come in, figure things out, and learn from those mistakes, play this chess match that we've talked about all season long, and go into this game and even up the series. Then you go back to San Antonio for Game 5, and that's one of those games that if the series is 2-2, it's a pivotal game. It completely flips the series on its head, and the winner of that one likely wins the series. But if San Antonio wins tonight, it may be all over, but the crying. The best part about tonight, though, if you're the Blazers, is if you win this game, you guarantee what? You guarantee at least one more game back at Moda Center. All right, let's take a deeper dive into what happened into this Game 3 loss. It's time for the Rip City Rewind. All right, taking a look at the individual box score in this one. Blazers did get out to the 29-27 lead in the first quarter, and then they outscored the Spurs 36-32 in the second. So they go into the locker room with a 65-59 lead, and things are looking good. They start to push that lead out a little bit more in the second half. Again, like I told you, they were out at one point 82-67. Okay, things are looking good. But then the wheels started to wobble, and they eventually fell off. San Antonio outscored the Blazers 29-22 in the third and 32-21 in the fourth. It was another one of those from the third quarter into the fourth quarter stretches that the Blazers just could not find a basket, and the Spurs were hot, red hot and rolling, as it were, in Portland. Hey, that's my line. No, you got to let the Blazers do that. Taking a look at how some of these stats played out. Points in the paint pretty even, 44-42 in favor of Portland. Second chance points, 22-12 in favor of San Antonio. Fast break points, 19-15 in favor of Portland. Bench points, 35-30 in favor of San Antonio. Both teams under 15 turnovers, or 15 or under. San Antonio with 15, Portland with 11. So a good game taking care of the ball from Portland. You like that, but when you can't buy a bucket, it's going to be a rough night. The Spurs shot 47% from the field. Portland shot just 41%. But the 36% from deep for Portland versus the 48% from deep from San Antonio is another reason that they were kind of behind in that game. Yes, San Antonio only made 2 more of those three-pointers, but they were obviously hitting them at a much higher clip. Out-rebounded the Blazers as well, 50-45 individually. Devin Vassell had 11 points, 9 points from Julian Champagny. Luke Cornett starting for the injured Victor Wembanyama Wembanyama had 14 points, 10 rebounds, 18 points from De'Aaron Fox. Stephon Castle, 33 points to lead all scorers, and 27 points from Dylan Harper. Again, Victor Wembanyama did not play. We haven't heard the official word on him, but Coach Mitch Johnson will talk here in about 25 minutes, and we'll do our best to get the audio from that to see if we get a Victor Wembanyama update. Looking at the Blazers side of things, Denny Avdia, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists, but struggled mightily in this one. Of his 19 points, 12 of them came from the free throw stripe, where he was 12 of 16, but he was just 3 of 15 from the floor, so not a banner night from him. Tumani Kamara, offensively, very, very weak, just 2 points. The tough part with Tumani is defensively, he's been very, very good. Offensively, he's been very, very bad, so I guess those just average out, and you need him to be more than average moving forward. Donovan Clingan, 7 points, 11 rebounds, and another game where you scratch your head a little bit because Luke Cornett is outplaying him, and Donovan Clingan has been exposed a little bit in this series. He has to play well, as does Tumani Kamara, for this team to really stand a chance. Because you can't win these playoff games every single night just putting all your chips in the Denny Avdia or Scoot Henderson basket. You need those team performances. And we've seen those games where everybody has it locked in. We've seen those 30-point games from Tumani Kamara. We've seen those big performances from DC, and we need those here tonight. Drew Holiday led all Trailblazer scorers with 29 points. And then Scoot Henderson, 21 points. He had a single assist, 2 rebounds, and a steal. 11 points for Robert Williams off the bench, who was very good in this one. 5 of 8 from the floor, brought a lot of energy, and then 13 points from Jeremy Grant. Shaden Sharp, bit of a rough night. He had just 4 points off the Trailblazers bench. Final score, 120-108 in favor of the Spurs. So the balance is what we need to look for in this one. So far in these games, it's been basically one player. Game 1, Denny Avdia shouldered the load. Game 2, Scoot shouldered the load. And then Game 3, Drew Holiday shouldered the load with a little bit of extra lifting from Scoot Henderson. Because Scoot Henderson, I think, through 3 games has been the best Blazer overall. Overall, has had 3 pretty good games. You need everyone else to step up just a little bit. Just a little bit. I ain't asking anybody to move a mountain, although if you were able to move a mountain, it'd be pretty helpful. Be pretty helpful if you could. But that's what you need. You need everybody to jump in on this. You need everybody to play. You need to figure your stuff out. You cannot win playoff games when your starting forward is scoring 2 points. You cannot win a lot of playoff games when your starting center is getting beaten by the other team's backup center. You have to be aggressive. You have to have a plan. You have to stick to that plan. And you have to come out swinging. Keep in mind that tonight, this game, it's basically do or die. You go down 3-1, all over but the crying. The odds are very, very much stacked against you, especially when on paper San Antonio is the better team. So you have got to figure your stuff out. This whole series, though, as I've said, you're playing with house money. You're a team that wasn't predicted to be a playoff team. You were predicted to be a fringe play-in team. You get to the play-in, you get through the play-in, and now here you are in the playoffs. So this is 100% a learning experience. It doesn't mean learning experiences have to be dreadful. You can still have some fun with it. And it's not fun when you squander 15-point leads late in games. And it's not fun when you're getting outplayed by the other team's bench players. You have got to step up tonight. That's what needs to happen. We'll talk about that more throughout the game, throughout the pregame show. And hopefully we're talking a little bit more positively at the end of this one and not feeling that gut punch that you felt after Game 3. This is still a playoff series. Anything can happen. It all starts with tip-off at 12:30 this afternoon. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to hear from head coach Tiago Splitter. We'll also hear from head coach Mitch Johnson of the San Antonio Spurs in a little bit here as well on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. There you go. Questions in. Let's take a listen.
What stood out to you about the way they're
Well, definitely Corporate and Castle, had an amazing game, driving, shooting, and then when that was not effective, they made us pay on the rebounds. So, we got to be ready for those one-on-ones. We got to be ready for the physical game that they are throwing at us. They were the most physical teams are in the game. I thought that after the game, right after the game, and after I watched it, everything was physical. And they won the ball, they push you guy around, they get it, and we were not ready for it. So we gotta not match that, but be more physical than them.
Ciao, good morning. Being an early game, what was your message to the team this morning just to be ready? I get it, it's a playoff game, but it's kind of an early game here in Portland.
We met early this morning, so got breakfast here, got a walkthrough, try to get them early here, ready to play, watch film. We're going to watch film again. It's an early game, but we all pros, and we got to be ready for it. It's early for both teams, so not an excuse. That was easy. Huh? I had two already. I might have another one.
Listo. En caso de que hayas tomado café, entonces te haré una pregunta en español.
Dale.
Y ya se vale. Dices que fue un juego físico,
Sí.
Y que fue uno de los mayores retos, el tener un juego físico. ¿Qué retos traería en caso de que Wemby estuviera listo? ¿Cambiaría? ¿Sería más físico?
No creo que cambie nada. Wemby es un jugador físico, los otros chicos jóvenes son físicos. No cambia nada. No solo ese partido, pero todos los partidos de NBA se nota ahora que estamos jugando playoff y eso no va para abajo. Los árbitros te dejan jugar así y siempre tienes que jugar al límite de la falta, límite de la falta, límite de la falta. Si te dejan jugar así, hay que jugar así, no hay que dar un paso atrás.
Obviously, you guys have done some good things to get to this point in the season, but over the last week or so, what has this team showed you that you've seen that they're ready for this contest tonight? Because as you know, it just gets tougher and tougher, but what have you seen over the last couple of nights that let you know that these guys are ready for this test tonight?
I don't have any doubts in my mind we're going to be ready. If you guys remember, end of the regular season with 8 games left, every game was a final playoff game for us. Told you guys, and that's what we did, and we're going to keep doing that. Now, we're playing against a very good team, Wemby or not Wemby. That team's tough, that team is good, that team's talented. You got to be ready. You got to play for 48 minutes. I think we had a good game till the end of third quarter, and then we relaxed. We thought we had it, and then they got their momentum. They play better, and now we are trying to run again, and trying to get back to the game, and we couldn't have a run together. So that's what it is, I think we got game to compete against them and beat them. Now, can we do that for 48 minutes? That's the question. But they're ready. They know what's the task, and they're going to bring it.
Thiago, how's Danny? How's his leg doing ahead of today?
He's fine. Thank you.
And there you hear from head coach Thiago Splitter. I always love media scrums. Like there's always that one when you're like, "Oh, you're done? Any more questions? No? Okay, well let's joke about coffee." And then comes in from the top rope and asks a question, and then the press conference keeps going on. But there was the question there, obviously, in Spanish, just about the physicality of Victor Wembanyama and playing this Spurs team, and that's what the Blazers need to do. I was actually talking with Chad Dewing about that prior to the show starting, about the physicality that the Spurs bring, and I think that's what makes them a challenge and such a good team is Vassell, Castle, Carter Bryant, Harper. Those are all guys that play a very physical brand of basketball. I think their roster was made to be able to play in these types of playoff series. So the Blazers have to be able to match that. And there's been a few players who I think enjoy that and do match it, Scoot Henderson being one of them. But I say there's a few players. Denny Avdia has been being played a little bit more physical than he's used to. And what the Spurs are doing, too, defensively, and this is where the Blazers need to either adjust the offensive game plan or, quite frankly, just, be better at hitting these shots, is they're letting Denny go one-on-one. Denny's putting the ball on the floor. And if he gets past his guy, they are crashing the paint. Like, when he goes up to go to the rim, there's often 2-3 Spurs right there ready to go, daring them to either take that contested shot or pass the ball out to shooters that they are confident are going to miss more than they make, which the numbers feel like that happens, right? So I'm going to drive, I'm going to get to the basket, and then they're going to crash on me. I'm going to kick out to Monty Kamara. He's going to miss the three-point shot because he has not been shooting the ball very well this series. So the Blazers have to fix that. Easier said than done, I know. But you're a basketball player. Hit your open shots. Denny's done a decent job of trying to get the ball out of the paint, but they are absolutely limiting him there, and they're fouling him pretty hard when he does get down there. He did make his living in Game 3 at the free throw line. 12 of his 19 points were freebies. So he's still being aggressive there, but the way the Spurs are guarding it is very good. Very good, and they're making him work. And then Carter Bryant, man, he had a couple picks in that game where I was shocked because he set a pick on Scoot Henderson. Scoot Henderson runs into him, and I kid you not, Carter Bryant did not budge, did not move. He was like a statue, feet cemented in, playing that physical brand of basketball. Tonight, back up against the wall, there's no more room for finesse. There's no more room for what if. Like, you need to, Jeremy Grant goes out there and he's ice cold. We're not waiting for him to get through the slump. Sorry, you're gone. Put someone else in. You take a play off and you're not giving me 100%. Sorry, you're gone. I'm going to put the guy in who's giving me 100. That's what I want tonight. Set a tone with that. Absolutely set a tone with it. That's what you need to do if you're the Blazers. I know, all easier said than done stuff. And I'm not the coach. I'm not paid those big bucks. But I do see things that they can do, and it's got to be able to match that physicality. That's one of them. Now, he did say, too, Denny was, been nursing that leg, kind of hit it hard in Game 1 and got beat up in Game 2 as well, and it feels like he hasn't been his same self. But at this point, if you're playing, you got to go. No excuse in that. But these playoffs have been physical all the way around. There's also been plenty of non-contact nonsense as well. Unfortunate for Dante DiVincenzo tearing his Achilles in that game last night against the Nuggets. Anthony Edwards going down with a hyperextended knee. He's been diagnosed with a bone bruise, and he'll be out for a few weeks. So these injuries that pile up are no fun whatsoever. But again, maybe part of that is just because of the physical play that you get in the playoffs sometimes, man. Got to match it. That's what you're here for. That's what you played 82 games for. That's what you got through the play-in for. Don't let this opportunity slip through your fingers. Bring it. And so tonight, if the Blazers lose, it could be what it is, and we'll analyze it the same way no matter what. But there are levels to how you lose. That's why Game 3 stunk. You had a big lead, and you let it go away. Now, if you have a knockdown slugfest of a game tonight and you lose a close one, you're like, you could swallow that and you can lose with pride. You know what I mean? You just can't let it slip away and roll over. A little bit of rolling over in that game 3. And you heard that in Robert Williams after the game. He was not happy. You could hear the anger in his voice about, the late game runs and letting that lead slip away. Hopefully that leadership and that championship, vet presence that he brings, hopefully they have something to say and get these guys focused here tonight for Game 4. This is Blazers Game Day. I'm your host, Chris Burkhardt. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear from Spurs head coach Mitch Johnson and get the tidbit of information that the world is waiting for. That is whether or not Victor Wembanyama will be available tonight here in Rip City. This is Blazers Game Day on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. audio from head coach Mitch Johnson. We'll get an update on Victor Wembanyama, and here he is.
Still working through the process, and we'll have an update at 60 on the clock for clarity. Honestly, I'm not quite sure of all the details, and the stuff that I do know in terms of the details, I'll keep it private like we always do. Understand.
Because of that, Mitch, and because apparently you're still not sure, did that complicate preparation for this? Did you have two different plans for today, or how did you handle that?
You know, fortunately, we have a little experience preparing for a variety of lineups and rotations, and you know, I think the guys have really empowered us as a staff, I'd say, throughout the season of being able to have a brand and an identity regardless of availability. And that's been something that has been very rewarding as a coach, to be able to go through the season and talk about the guys that have missed the amount of games that they've missed throughout our roster, and to not have to go back and say, oh, scratch that, let's start back at ground zero type stuff. So again, when we have any of our main guys, and we got a lot of main guys, big pieces to the puzzle that are out, things will present themselves or look a little differently at times, but we won't change our brand or identity regardless of who's in or who's out.
Looking back at the previous game, what do you think about the small ball lineups just in general, and do you think even at full strength that could be a weapon for you?
I thought that group did a really, really good job of trying to play with pace and tempo, which doesn't always mean a quick shot, but I thought they did a really good job of running the floor, and then in the half court, even if we didn't have an advantage in transition, I thought they did a good job of keeping the integrity of our spacing and letting the ball move, whether that was, you know, obviously someone who wasn't getting pressured and he could be a facilitator at times, or just kept the ball moving where we kept our pace a little bit in the half court, which helps alleviate the pressure a little bit. And then I think most importantly what that group has to do in terms of kind of surviving to be successful potentially is they rebounded their butts off. And so to your question, yes, I do think it could be something that we could go to in terms of that we feel good about, not just out of consolation, I guess would be the best way to say it.
Coach, el jefe es el jefe. It's time to talk to Coach Bob. Have you shared anything, or he has shared anything with you about last game?
Yeah, we connect and talk quite a bit, and he is a never-ending source for myself, selfishly, of wisdom and experience and insight, especially with the intimate knowledge that he has of our program and this team and what we're going through, and myself even. And so he has been a huge resource for me.
Mitch, Keldon said that it's only a matter of time before he gets back to regular season form. Is there anything you notice on film that's holding him back, or?
No. 3 games, you know, so what happens in those 3 games, he's missed some shots, I think, around the rim that he usually makes. They're good at rim protection, so there's probably a little bit that goes into that on both ends. He had a couple plays, I think, that, you know, because of the way they packed the paint, maybe he missed a kick out, but I think everybody on our team has it in terms of the way they guard. He's missed some shots. He hit a monster 3 last game, and his defense was a lot better. Did a really good job. One of the guys in that small ball group that was well. In game 2, he had some moments where he needed to be a little sharper defensively, but zero concern about Keldon, and I've learned to not put too much into a 3-game sample size regardless of circumstance in this league.
And there you hear a little bit from Spurs head coach Mitch Johnson. And the big thing that you got to take away, obviously, is just right off the bat, a little update, non-update on Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama is going through the process of being available for the game, but is still undetermined as whether or not he will play or not. His final status will be put out there at 11:30, the 60-minute mark before tip, when the teams submit their roster statuses for the game. I mean, people don't understand that sometimes, that you have to submit that final roster. You guys remember the famous C.J. McCollum, Doc Rivers game where Terry Stotts didn't put him as available by accident, asked Doc Rivers if he would still let it slide, and they're like, nope, you said he was inactive. Gamesmanship, right? So we'll see what the update is here in roughly 23 minutes. But right now, it just sounds like he's going through the process. If you had to wager a good guess, and that's what it would be, is the fact that he was in the arena and on the bench during Game 3 would tell me that he's progressing through concussion protocol pretty quickly. Because being in that atmosphere with those sounds, the crowd, the lights, the PA system, all those things, if you're still suffering from those concussion-type symptoms, that's going to be a lot to sit through. So that's one sign that he's obviously progressing through the protocol. Doesn't mean he's cleared. It just means that, in my mind, he's doing well. Now, going through and sitting there is still different than going through the jumping and the running, the sprinting, and the getting beat up. I mean, you get a guy boxing you out down low and you get jostled. That might be enough to rattle that brain inside that dome. So you got to go through the full protocol. This is not, in my opinion, Coach Johnson, trying to play it close to the vest and we're going to just not tell anyone until the absolute last minute. Like, there's no benefit to that. It just sounds like they just got to make sure he's going through the process. So we'll get an actual real-life update on that here in about 22 minutes, the end of the show. And so hopefully Chad will have an update for you on the Trailblazers pregame show. But that's when we'll finally know if Victor Wembanyama is playing or not. And again, if he's not playing, then it goes right back to what you had to do in Game 3, is you have to 100% take advantage of the situation. The Blazers were not able to in Game 3, which is a little frustrating. Hopefully Game 4 can change that, because these games, they're hard. San Antonio is a very, very good team, but let's not be dumb here. You could be a good team, but you're still completely different when a guy like Victor Wembanyama isn't playing. Oklahoma City is an absolute phenomenal team. They're a slightly different team when SGA is not available. You saw it here during the prime run with Dame and all those playoff appearances that the Blazers made. Very good team. Completely different team when Damian Lillard wasn't available. So you have to take advantage of the situation when a guy like Victor Wembanyama is not on the floor. Now, selfishly, could this be the last home game of the year? I hope it's not. I want to see Wemby out there. I want to get a chance to see him in person in this playoff atmosphere, but I also want a chance to see him many, many more times in the future, so I also want him to heal up properly and be 100% full go. And like I said, we will get a full update on that in about 20 minutes when the Spurs submit their roster status for the game. This is Blazers Game Day. I'm your host, Chris Burkhardt. We still got a few things to get to here. We'll get to our keys to the game in the next segment. But before we do, it's time for a scoreboard report.
This NBA Scoreboard Report is brought to you by McCord's Vancouver Toyota, where they live by the slogan, "We make it easy." Check out their inventory now at vancouvertoyota.com.
All right, let's take a look at what's going down around the NBA today. Right now, with 1:40 left in the first half, the Cavaliers have a 36-29 lead over the Raptors, a low-scoring affair. At the end of the first, the Cavs led that one 17-14, and they've outscored the Raptors 19-16 here in the second quarter. So, interesting little game right now. The Raptors did just score, so it's 36-30. If we take a look at this box score, let's see. Oh, my goodness. The Cavs are shooting 37%, while Toronto is shooting 24%. Toronto, 1 of 18 from beyond the arc. Cleveland, 4 of 18. Not a good shooting night for either of those teams. That's the only game going on right now, but the rest of the docket today, you have San Antonio here in Portland at 12:30. Then at 4 o'clock, you have Boston in Philadelphia. Boston has a 2-1 series lead in that one. And then at 6:30, you have the Lakers at Houston, LA, with a 3-0 series lead in that one. So a chance to put that one to bed. Taking a look at what happened last night, the Magic grabbed a 2-1 series lead with a 113-105 victory over the Pistons. The Thunder grabbed a 3-0 series lead with a 121-109 victory over the Suns. The Knicks evened up the series 2-2 with a 114-98 victory over the Hawks. And Minnesota took a commanding 3-1 series lead over Denver with a 112-96 victory. The unfortunate part for Minnesota is that they lost Dante DiVincenzo for the rest of the year and most of next season in that game as he went down with a torn Achilles. And then Anthony Edwards hyperextended his knee. He has a bone bruise, and he will miss a couple weeks of action as well. This NBA Scoreboard Report brought to you by our friends at McCord Vancouver Toyota, where they live by the slogan, "We make it easy." Check out their inventory now at vancouvertoyota.com. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to hit you with our keys to the game. What do the Blazers need to do to get a victory against the Spurs? We'll let you know here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. can go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, where a couple people have already chimed in. Go Spurs, go! That's their keys to the game. I got the Spurs fans chiming in. They should be pretty happy because their team has looked pretty good now through these first 3 games and a chance for number 4. And even if this series didn't go as planned or this playoff series doesn't go as planned, I would venture to guess that at some point a Victor Wembanyama-led team is going to win a championship because he is really good. You can also join the conversation at 503-248-0620 on the telephone line or text 88528 where I got to call some, at least one texter out. The Crispy Crunch Time Award does not go to me. It says, why do you guys ask us to submit texts, but then you don't read any of them? Guess it won't matter in a few days. Well, the text line ain't going anywhere. You could text even during a regular Rip City Drive. Doesn't have to be game day. But I answer to your texts all the time. Sometimes it's a little hard to host live and read the text line. I do my best, I assure you. Because the last text you said, I was reading them during the commercial break. I got to catch up. It says, Spurs look like one together unit. We look like a mixed up mess at times, and that is factual. The Spurs play very, very good team basketball. A lot of these top-end teams do. Oklahoma City is one of those teams, right? I think Atlanta's been looking pretty good in that aspect. Minnesota can do that. Denver can do that. Like, you need that. Still, you go with that little ISO ball sometimes and a little bit of confusion going on in Portland that you absolutely have to fix. Maybe that's a key to the game. Speaking of which, it's time now for our keys to victory. Well, as that texter had mentioned, looking like a unit, something that isn't happening all the time. The Blazers have to play as one. And part of that is when you look at the way these games have broken down, you had Scoot great in one game, Denny great in one game, Drew Holiday great in one game. That's all fine and dandy, but you need to get a game where you play as one, you play as a unit, and you look good as a team. Looking good individually is not going to get you over the hump. You need to look good as a team. So that is key one here for me. Also, looking at the way some of the stats have broken down here, this game will continue, and I feel this. You've watched these games. This game will be won or lost at the three-point line, both offensively and defensively. So far through the playoffs, San Antonio is shooting 42.2% from beyond the arc. That's the third best among playoff teams right now. And Portland has continued their poor three-point shooting. They are at 32.5%. A 10% difference in what the two teams are shooting is not a good recipe for victory. And the Blazers' three-point shooting has been bad all year long. And we've seen games where it's good and the team looks really good and they tend to win games when they shoot well from beyond the arc. But if they continue to shoot poorly, it's just not going to get it done. Secondarily, continue to be aggressive on the boards. Offensively, Portland has been good. In the playoffs, they're number 2, tied with Oklahoma City at 13 offensive rebounds per game. But overall rebounding, they are coming in at just 42 per, and San Antonio's coming in at 46, meaning on average they're getting beat on the glass. And that is also not something that bodes well for this team. Got to get those offensive rebounds, convert those second chance points, and then again, do your best to stop San Antonio defensively. The frustrating part about some of those three-point shots that San Antonio is getting, which is also part of the reason they're shooting them at such a high clip, is whether it's Julian Champagnie or Dylan Harper or Castle or they are getting a lot of open three-point shots. That's on you. You got to figure that one out. Luke Cornett sitting in the corner and you not being able to close out, he gets an open three, ball game. You got to lock in defensively. Again, as one of our texters said, I thought defense was the calling card. It's kind of something they've tried to hang their hat on this year. And individually, I've liked the things Tumani's done defensively. I've liked what Drew could do defensively. As a unit, they've left a little bit to be desired. Scoot Henderson's played very well on that end. Hat tip to him. But you got to lock in. Again, play as a unit. That's how you win ball games. One of the YouTube chats. If Wemby plays, Blazers have no chance. Well, yeah, Wemby's really good. We shall see. We'll get an update on him here in just a few minutes. But I got to get out of here. Coming up next, Chad Dewing has the Trailblazers pregame show across the Trailblazers audio network. And then he'll hand the mic off to Travis Demers at 12:30. Blazers versus Spurs here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio. And keep it locked in after the game for the 5th quarter, where hopefully we're breaking down a Trailblazers victory. Rip City, I will talk to you after the game.